Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, yes, all things election now. Ikechukwu, Ikeji, a legal practitioner, joins us today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Chairman, for having me.
Do you know, when that report went out, it turned out that I remember that, look, well, I know some may blame some of us for not going out there, but getting the permanent voter cards, you know, I think there was about 10 million or was it 11 million people who didn't collect their voter cards in the last elections. But for a lot of people before that time, all they had was the temporary voter card. Yes. They never really moved on to that stage of getting the permanent voter cards. Yes. Do you see all those impediments that existed at that time over to the extent that we cannot go out there and pick up?
No, it's not over. It's not over. As recent as two months back, I personally went to Ikeji local government, where INEC has its office, to look for my PVC, and I was told that it's not there. All through 2015, before the elections, and all onto 2016, I kept on getting there for my own PVC, and I didn't get it. So it's not showing any signs of. Well,
remember at the time they said we should go to the local government and pick it up.
Yes.
Did people make that? Did you?
I went. Yes, I went personally. I've been going regularly.
What do you think is the challenge?
I think it's a systemic. I think it's from the processes, the system itself. The INEC has not really put its house in order in this regard. There is a problem somewhere. For someone like me, who I have my TVC, my temporary voters card, and my wife too has hers. Both of us, we have gone. There was a time we were referred to a particular technical secondary school in the Agidingbi axis. We went there on several occasions. They searched and searched and searched. So it is a problem of system. I don't see a situation where I presented myself for my biometrics. You issued me a temporary card, and when the time comes for me to pick up the permanent card, I can't find it. It's not my fault. Surely it's a systemic fault, and they are saying that it ought to be there. So what is the problem?
And, you know, speaking about elections, the reason why they collect this is, of course, to go ahead and vote. Yes. And one of the elections that people expect to happen is that of Anambra Central Senatorial elections, which hasn't happened.
Absolutely.
But we understand, yes, there's been several legal cases, but at the moment that election hasn't held. What do you think is the key challenge why that is the case?
There's no challenge. It's a very funny situation. There's absolutely no challenge. Legally, morally, jurisprudentially, in whatever ramification or dimension you want to think about it, there is no challenge whatsoever. Section 87, subsection 10 of the Electoral Act as amended clearly states that no court process or court proceedings or court order can stop the holding of any general election. And the Supreme Court, in the Labour Party and INEC case, which is the locus classicus on fresh elections, has clearly held that any court-ordered election is a general election. And therefore, if it is a general election, the law says that nothing can stop it from being held. So it is surprising that INEC has not held that election. In all of the 109 senatorial districts, Anambra Central remains the only senatorial district that has no representation in the Senate.
Does INEC, you said INEC hasn't held that election.
Yes.
But of course we should expect that INEC is aware and perhaps will act within a couple of time. I think sometimes within the next less than 6 months, Anambra should be going through its elections.
That is for the governorship elections. We are talking about the senatorial, Anambra Central senatorial elections that ought to have been held since the declaration of the disqualification of Uche Kunife by the Court of Appeal. And to think that the same PDP that the Court of Appeal declared as having no candidate went back to the Court of Appeal for interpretation of the same judgment, and the Court of Appeal dismissed their request. They went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court also refused and dismissed their request based on lack of jurisdiction. You would want to wonder, what exactly are you saying? Are they really wanting to wait for the governorship election to come first before they give the right of people, the franchise right of the people to the people? People need to be represented, and this situation is due to no fault of theirs. You see what happened in Rivers State, how long it took for INEC to have conducted elections there, and the kind of pressures INEC went through before they succumbed to.
But at that time, wasn't their reason valid? Because INEC at that time said, well, look, we had security challenges and we can't afford to risk.
Sorry, I can't. There cannot be any valid reason not to hold elections. The law says
even if
INEC shall hold elections. It said shall. It does not leave it to their discretion. It has no discretion in holding an election. You must hold an election. It's a mandatory word.
Yes, it is. But we all know that if security is a key challenge, you can't go ahead with if it's obvious.
Are you saying that security in Rivers State will be a challenge more than it was in Borno State?
I was just highlighting the reasons they gave in Rivers before the elections held.
That was,
but it's different now.
Thankfully, I was in this studio and I trashed that argument of security.
Okay.
Because,
but now that this one about Anambra Central Senatorial elections, there are a lot of things here. We've seen several court cases.
Yes.
You talked about right from when the PDP candidate was disqualified. She went to court up until the Supreme Court. After the Court of Appeal, that case was sorted. But we also now saw that I think the APC also went to court. The court has decided on that case. What if INEC then says, well, at the moment, if the PDP has gone to court, taken INEC to court, saying our candidate, in fact, I think there was a Justice Chikere judgment,
yes,
which
said
that
funnily enough, has given two conflicting judgments.
Which said that one of the judgments said the PDP candidate must participate in that election.
Yes.
So what if INEC says, look, we're waiting to sort that part out before we conduct elections because it's been appealed?
The law is clear. The law is clear. First, the case of Labour Party and INEC clearly states that fresh elections exclude fresh nominations. That is one. The same Angoli Chikere, in the case of Sharon Ikeazo and APC against INEC, held, and it is this year, March 2017, that the law is settled that fresh candidates are not permitted in court-ordered fresh elections. And in that case that you are referring to, she merely made an injunction. And that injunction is an injunction of illegality. That is to say that when you are faced with two judgments of the court, you do not cherry pick. You obviously have to do one of two things. You obey the one that is later in time, or you obey the one that has superior jurisdiction. And the one that has superior jurisdiction is the one of them that there should be no substitution. That means there should be no new candidate for a fresh election. And the law is very clear. INEC has a strong platform, a strong foundation of law to stand on, to hold the election, and let whatever court processes are going on to continue.
So
Section 87
you expect
of the
that
Electoral Act.
You expect that INEC now should conduct that election?
Absolutely.
Despite security concerns that have been raised?
There are no security concerns in Anambra State. There are no security. In fact, there are no legal concerns. Because as far as the law is concerned, Section 87, subsection 10, we must emphasize that section of the Electoral Act clearly says that no court order or court process or court decision can stop the holding of a general election.
So does that mean that the February 2016 judgment of Justice Chikere between March?
Yes.
Okay, but there was one of February.
Okay.
February 2000, March. There's March 2017.
2017. Yes.
There's February 2016.
Yes.
So does that then mean that the one for February 2016 between the PDP and INEC, is that meant to be a fresh candidate when she ruled that the PDP must have a candidate?
That's what it means. Because the only candidate that contested the election was Uche Kunife. And she's the only person entitled to be part of the fresh election. But she decamped to APC, we all know that. So PDP had no candidate. In point of fact, the Court of Appeal had even declared that PDP was disqualified. So at the time of the fresh election, there ought not to be any consideration at all given to any candidate from PDP. Let me give you this analogy. You are running a 100-meter race, and 5 people are on the set waiting for the whistle. At the point where you blow the whistle for them to go, there is a false start. When there's a false start, you call them back to the starting blocks, wouldn't you? Now, would you now say that you have to now go back to the screening and get fresh people to join in the race? That is what INEC appears to be wanting to do. Changing the goalpost in the middle and putting the law, turning the law on its head and expecting it to work. The law cannot work that way.
But